I'm Jason Randall. I'm a stage 4 colorectal cancer survivor. Next month here in July will be my 5th year into this experience. My first introduction to an ostomy was back in 2020 after I had a 12-hour surgery at City of Hope in California, and I was given a temporary ileostomy. I had that for about 3 months. And then I was reversed, and then I had another surgery, an APR, due to a reoccurrence that happened in my tailbone, which required more chemo and more radiation, but an APR ultimately got rid of my cancer in that area, which was great. But it left me with a permanent ostomy, colostomy.
My name's Hart. I am a 38-year-old mom of 2 young girls. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a stage 3B colorectal cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2019, just after my 34th birthday. I was not expecting to undergo massive shift in my life like this, but now 3 years later, I am living with an ostomy and living a very active, normal life. You know, maybe you didn't envision this for your life, but there are tools to help you make this, it just becomes part of your normal life.
You don't know what to expect with it, and I hope that some of the stuff that we show you today can really help ease some of people's anxieties and fears that they may have with those stuff. So kind of what I'm going to start with is like some of the different bags that people can have with an ostomy. Ileostomies tend to have more of an open bag because you have a lot more output from an ileostomy due to where it's coming from your small bowel instead of going anywhere within the large bowel. So people typically with those, they use a, do a show and tell here. They do a, let's see, like an open-ended bag that's drainable is what they're called. And they're usually, there's 2 types. There's a 1-piece and a 2-piece. A 2-piece or a 1-piece looks kind of like this. It's just got your adhesive and you just cut it to the size of your stoma, peel it off, and then you put it on and you can wrap it up and seal it. And every time you go, you have stool, you drain it. And they tend to be, some of the issues more with ileostomies are dehydration, stuff like that. And so it's constantly kind of coming, so to speak. I remember constantly having like little leaks here and there, trying to tweak it as I went. Another one is like a convex bag with the drainable. Those are really good for people that kind of have like an innie is what you want to call it. Their stoma doesn't protrude out as much, and it kind of helps push down on the skin to pop it out. When it comes to, and then there's also 2-piece bags to where it's like a flange type system that you basically put over and then you attach a bag to it. And there's also, for ileostomies, people tend to use the open-ended bags. That's exclusively what I used. I used a one-piece drainable bag when I had an ileostomy. I was kind of scared to go to the 2-piece, but when I ended up getting my colostomy bag, I started off with the 2-piece system and I loved it. And what those look like, you can still do a closed or a drainable bag with your colostomy as well, but the output's a lot thicker. And so sometimes it's a lot harder to drain it. And so what they have is they have one or closed systems. And there's kind of the same thing with that. It's a flange system, and then you connect that to this, and then this is more of a changed as needed. I've kind of switched it all up, and I personally now use a 1-piece closed system that I change as needed. It's basically, this is it. And I just take this off every time I change as I need, and I put that on, and then I'm done. People tend to use hair rings, which is one of our questions coming up. You use this to kind of protect leaks and stuff like that. With the 1-piece closed system, it completely eliminates the use. I've found it a lot easier to deal with that. So, other things that kind of come in handy when dealing with ostomies and like keeping stuff under control is like using wraps. You got these wrap systems that you just basically wear around yourself. They have pockets in it. Can be used for both colostomies and ileostomies. There's also, for people that are more active, there's like what we call a stealth belt. So there's this hole where your either your flange or your whole pouch goes in, depending on what type of system you use. and you put this on, and you basically would wear it like this. I use it because I swim to work out. And so this thing is great because not only does it keep it kind of in place and secure, this one also acts as a hernia belt, which is a big concern when you have a peristomal hernia. It's basically, you run the risk after cutting in through the abdominal wall to herniate a lot easier. Yeah, and so I use it for swimming because I swim about 3 to 4 times a week. That was one thing I was worried about was, am I going to be able to swim still? Because I used to be a runner, but after having 2 major open surgeries, running is probably just not the best choice anymore. So I choose to swim. But this wrap thing that I have, I use this out in public too. Is like I go out like on a date with my wife, and so I use these as just kind of like something to wear to keep things in place, because sometimes, as it fills up, or gets gassy. That's one thing, disadvantage I have with having the closed system, is I can't burp it, or I can't get rid of the air in it. And so it kind of keeps it closer to my skin, which makes me feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident. And another thing that I've used a lot is I can't wear belts anymore, like when I wear jeans. So I would use this thing called a belt bro. And what it is it takes basically 2 of your, it takes 2 belt loops, and it basically pulls it together like this on the side. And so it acts as a belt on the side. And that has been tremendous help, because I used to get uncomfortable and be like, oh, I can't sit down, and you can't stand forever, And then another system I use for more impactful events, like playing with my children or soccer, stuff like that they like to do, is called a stomaplex. And what this is, it's a little stoma guard that's fitted to where you can put it over your stoma, like right here. And then you put this belt on there, and it's also a hernia belt. And so if, like, say I'm playing baseball with my son, he throws the ball too fast and I miss it and it hits my stoma, it's not going to damage that, which could be pretty bad if it impacted. And so basically it's an impact guard. And there's other stuff called stomadome. This one's a stomaplex. There's just all sorts of products out there to help people kind of deal with living with an ostomy and build confidence along the way as well. It took me trial and error, looking at different systems, and what one person may work well for them may not work for another person, or even the same company, because some of these companies use different adhesives. Well, and even if you find a system that works for you, I was using a 2-piece closed system for a long time. And then through my buddy Wes, at one of the Colon Club meetups we had, he showed me a different system, a 1-piece closed. And I've been on that ever since. After I made the switch, I was just like, this is so much easier. I have less product to deal with, simplifying can help too.
We are ostomy twins, because that is exactly why I switched my bag. A fellow ostomy, one of my greatest friends that I've made through this whole community, she said, why are you using that bag? And I said, I don't know, after complaining about it. And I tried hers, and what do you know? It worked out great. So same thing. So that's why I'm always pushing talk to other ostomates. See, even if you don't personally talk to them, review what they're using, see if it's something that might help the problems that you're having with your bag. I think before I had an ostomy, I enjoyed putting together outfits and fashion being a part of my life, or just enjoying getting dressed and feeling confident, as a lot of women do. And I kind of had to shift my mindset with the ostomy. At first, I was really afraid and worried that I would live in sweatpants for the rest of my life. And that's just not the case. Things actual suggestions I give to women are look for high-waisted jeans, specifically paper bag style jeans, where they're kind of high and loose at the top. That's a great way to wear your ostomy. It's very fashionable, and you can find these things everywhere. I also love wearing skirts and dresses. It was one thing that in the beginning of having my ostomy, I was really reluctant to do. Found that wearing bike shorts under my skirts and dresses was something that made me feel more secure. Also kind of gave me the confidence that if I did have a leak or anything, I had an additional layer between me and the dress and the ground. I also really believe in stretchy materials. Make sure your jeans are not skin tight, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on your ostomy and potentially give you a leak. So I like to size up in my jeans. I just go one size higher. They're a little looser at the top, and I feel like I can still wear things that are fashionable, trendy, that I can find anywhere, Target, on Amazon, whatever. But I just like to size up. Some ostomates have suggested to me buying maternity jeans or shorts, because it does give you that extra bit of stretch, and it's just something I haven't tried myself, but sounds like a great way to give yourself room to stretch with your bag. But I pretty much wear all of the things that I wore before, with those slight tweaks. Other things I suggest are to wear what makes you most comfortable. There are swimsuits that are specifically made for ostomates. This one, we'll get links and photos for all of this. I don't have the name of it right yet, but it has, not only does it have a pouch inside for your ostomy bag to go through, it has a little opening so you can literally empty your bag with your swimsuit still on. And as a mom who goes to a water park with two, it's nice to be able to do that quickly without having to pull my whole swimsuit down. It's nice too that it keeps it separate from the skin, just as a personal preference as an ostomy. Sometimes when you're swimming, especially, that's kind of a weird feeling for me, for the bag to be pressed right up against my skin. So I also like that for that reason, which also leads into the confidence. Again, feeling comfortable. When you said that, I feel secure. I think that same thing when I wear my bike shorts. I feel secure. My bag's close to me. I think maybe it's something that's left over from post-surgery, but I always wanted everything to be really tight and secure and close after I had my surgery. I didn't want my bag swinging everywhere. That was an uncomfortable feeling for me. So that gives me confidence when I have my bag secure to me.
Absolutely. And with swimming, they sell these C strips, and there's several companies that make them. That was a big problem for me when I had my ileostomy. And one of the things I did was, they have the rings that a lot of people use. Fitting them as close as you can to your stoma is always helpful. But then there's one, I believe it's Coloplast. They have something called a protective ring, and it's not just a barrier ring. And that was really good. It kind of binds to your skin a lot better. And I didn't have.
Is it like the paste?
It's a ring, but once you put it on, it almost like dissolves onto the adhesive of the flange and also to your skin. And so you do have to get some of the alcohol or adhesive remover to remove them, but they tend to just it's a really good bond. And I know what you're talking about. You're talking about this stuff, the ostomy.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of it because it's kind of messy.
It is. It smells like rubber cement that you're putting on yourself. And if you have like an uneven stomach, it can help a lot with that. But it's not a way if you have like general leaking, it's not the best. But if you have like a very specific fold, you can use it as kind of like a bridge between that. Yeah. And one of these companies, Combatech, so they have let me show you here. They have this one it's their Natura line.
That was my old bag, and
Yes.
It's a great bag. I'm a believer in the moldable technology. They just didn't make a small enough opening once I healed. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it comes like this, and you kind of warm it up with your fingers and you mold it to it. And it's almost like a pre-cut. And that's another thing that can really help with leaks too, is getting a pre-cut bags and not cutting them yourselves. Because if it's right around the size of your stoma, it won't, like the edges won't cut your stoma from you cutting it and not being perfect. And it creates such a much better seal, I've noticed as well. Within like about 5 weeks of surgery, I stuck with that low fiber, low residue as much as you want to jump back into a salad or whatnot. With the colostomy, I've had a lot of luck reintroducing everything over time. It wasn't right away. I tested like tree nuts again because sometimes those can cause backups. I tend to go on more of the clogged side, constipated side, than I do the diarrhea side of stuff. And so the hydrating is important. I drink a lot of water, but I also do like what do they call, like drip drop, liquid IVs, stuff like that. And then if I feel like I can feel it, especially since I have been reconnected where I had my prior ileostomy, I can feel like certain foods, like especially like mushrooms, tend to stick to the adhesions quite a bit. And so if I start to feel that kind of pain there, I take it's a supplement, it's a magnesium supplement called Calm. And it's magnesium citrates that's converted from magnesium calcium, but it's a lot easier than what you traditionally think as mag citrate, which is the just boom kablooey. It's and start small, and don't, what am I trying to say? Don't compact yourself to where you're eating the same thing that's not working for you over and over and over. Kind of let up if you can on that stuff, because I've noticed that giving your body and your bowels a chance to regain its natural motility is really, really important, because otherwise you can feel it sometimes if it's not
Yeah, agreed. I'm notoriously defiant, so I eat everything. I've just introduced it in small quantities and with a lot of liquids, but I eat popcorn, I eat almonds, I eat pistachios. Do I notice when I eat these things? Yes, I do. But knock on wood, I have not had any blockages because of that. But I introduce them slowly, a little at a time, make sure they work for my body, ingest a lot of liquid. And the most important thing that I can pass to any ostomy, and I didn't want this to end before we said it, is chew your food, chew your food, chew your food like you're chewing up enough to give it to a baby. It is one of the best things you can do for your digestive system after getting an ostomy is to chew that food. It'll help you all the way through. It's something I stick to. Also, lots of water. Yeah, lots of drinking water, especially with ileostomy. I have to almost combat the dehydration.
Absolutely. I've also noticed, for me personally, like probiotics food, not necessarily a pill or whatever. I mean, those can help, but like kombucha, Greek yogurt, anything with probiotics in it have been good. But be careful, I mean, of stuff like kimchi, because it's cabbage and that can slow things down. So it's just a lot of testing the waters for knowing yourself. For the longest time, I couldn't do spicy foods, and now I love them again, but it took me a while to get back into that. And the bonus now is it only burns once. There's a lot to take in when you first get an ostomy. A lot of not necessarily anger. I think some people do get that, but a lot of what do you call it? The unknown. You don't know what to expect with it.
There's just something about knowing you're not alone in something that really can allow you to build a slight foundation, and then you can work yourself from there. But otherwise, just trying to share that living with an ostomy is not only very much possible, it becomes as normal, beautiful, tough, complicated, emotional, all of the things that life was before you had an ostomy.